G'day, thanks for joining us for another video. Today we'll be looking at one of the more complicated areas of the site, which is how to create your very own table on your Bark database. So you really are now starting to customize your Bark behind the scenes in order to help your business grow. So you don't need a web developer to do it. We're happy always to assist anytime you need us to, and if you need us to make tables, because if you're not comfortable, best off asking us to do it, but you can do it as a user. So let's have a look at that and see how we go. So it's in a place called Query Builder, and this gives you very powerful direct access to the database, so do try and keep access to this page limited. So down the bottom you'll see a create table function. So you simply give it a name. It'll add the QB in front of it just to let everybody know that this is something that you've created custom from the Query Builder. So we're going to have a look at our table here shortly, our Excel worksheet. Oftentimes you'll be storing things in Excel before you enter on the Bark journey with us. So this is a way to get things out of Excel online in the cloud, and obviously then use Page Builder to create field forms and things, so your workers out in the field can actually insert the data for you that you need to run your business. So we'll take this table here as an example. It's actually taken out of a MyOb export. So we've got 7 columns there, and we're going to just simply reproduce those 7 columns in our database. So if you had column names in there, for instance column 1 and with no data in it, etc., just make your own choices and only take the columns that you need. So on this occasion we've got about 7 to choose from. This is the most important part, and I guess the little bit of artistry goes into this part. May I strongly recommend you use nvarchar for your character or text fields. Nvarchar just means you can have a numeric and a variety of characters, so you can pretty much type in whatever you like there. So it could be Heroes Cafe with an apostrophe, or it could be the ampersand symbol, or anything else you like, or partytoyou.com.au, or whatever you like in there. So you can have symbols, letters and numbers in there. So you're best off giving yourself the most scope, unless you definitely know you don't want numbers or you don't want letters in there. You're better off going an nvarchar whenever there's text involved. Whenever there's a date or a time involved, may I recommend you use date time offset, and that will particularly, even if you're only in one time zone at the moment, set it up to grow, and there's no reason you can't expand with Bark software internationally and be performing exactly the same standards out in the field in a different country as your prime country. So date time offset will make sure that everything gets a local time when it arrives to the user. For money and currency, try and use decimal rather than money. Decimal will give you your decimal places, obviously, and it's a lot easier to work with. And if there's anything that you use as an ID or things like that, where it's definitely just numbers, no decimal places required, that's when you'd use integer for the whole numbers. So they're your big, most popular column types there. So on this occasion we're going to use nvarchar. Anytime we use nvarchar, we have to put a column size. 255 is a fairly standard column size, column width. Once again, go as small as you like, but give yourself a little bit of leeway, because people will always surprise you. So if you think it's just a name and you'll only need 50 characters, give yourself 100 just in case. So we simply just add our column there. We'll choose a couple of different column types. Now, sale ID we're grabbing, and we know that's only going to be numbers. So on this occasion, we will go integer to make sure that only numbers can go in that field. And there's nothing else we need to do for an integer. We're going to have a date column, which is simply a date. However, we're going to use date time offset because it not only handles the date, but if you ever needed a time and you ever needed to put it in somebody's local time zone, you're ready to go with that. So date time offset we'll use for that one. We've got a quantity field, and even though it's 999 times out of 1,000 is going to be an integer, I'm going to choose decimal just in case. So when I choose decimal, I just have to say how big the number can be and how many decimal places. So 18 and 2 is your standard for decimals. So when in doubt, stick to 18 and 2. And as I said, when in doubt for n-bar char, stick to 255 column width. We've now got an amount, a dollar amount. Try and avoid spaces too much in your column headings. Because it's a database, it doesn't like spaces in your headings, so you can always change those on the actual page. When you create the page, you could call that dollar amount or sale amount with the spaces in there on your actual page. But just for the database, keep it nice and short and sharp and no spaces. So the amount, even though it's money, it is a money amount. We're going to choose decimal, as I said. Always choose decimal over money. Decimal will work a lot better in a lot more instances than money will. So we've now got a column called status, and that's going to be an n-bar chart. It's just generally a one word at the moment, but rather than do a one word, we'll put 50 characters in there, and that's going to give us plenty of room because we've got only about 10 characters that they actually need. And the last one is a price per unit. See how I'm doing underscores there rather than the pluses or the spaces. If you need to separate your words, just do underscores. But because it's only a back of house database table, you actually won't need them. I tend to go with a capital letter at the start of each word, and I tend to capitalise each word, and that separates my text nicely, so I know what I'm talking about. When it gets out to the page, obviously I'll put spaces in the headings and things, which I do in Page Builder. So price per unit, once again, I'm not going to go a money, I'm going to go decimal and 18 and 2. Very rare you'll need anything other than 18 and 2. So now that all my columns are in there, I just simply hit Save Table, and it'll come up and let me know that it may take up to a minute to propagate that into the database. The other thing I'll show you is if you want to join this table to another table, we've got a feature to do that. So you would choose only the top one is available to do this with. So you may, if you haven't done it right at the start, then you'll just need to copy your column down. So say I wanted to join that to my customer table, I can only join by IDs and integers. So I need to get rid of all of that, and now I've got an integer, which is customer ID, and I want it to join to the customer table. So I'm only allowing fields in that column that are in the customer ID. So it will keep everything nice and tight, and if one changes somewhere, it'll change in the other table. So really handy feature there to link your tables and make sure that your data is all nice and neat. So because I've got customers there, I want to join the customer ID from the customer table, and I'm going to call it customer ID in this table here as well. That's about it. So hit your Save Table, and you've just created your very own customized database table.